In this video, we'll learn how to divide an estate. An estate is made up of someone's possessions and money, and it's usually divided up after a person passes away. The problem with dividing an estate is that if you have objects, you can't cut most objects into pieces and share it among people. Also, you may have different opinions of what an object is worth. For example, you may really feel your mom's wedding ring is worth a lot of money, even though if you tried to sell that ring, it might not be worth as much cash as it is to you sentimentally. So we're going to take a couple things into account here. One is if there's only one of something, how do you split it between multiple people? Who decides who gets it? And then B, how do you put value on things? We're going to walk through a problem. Imagine that you and your siblings have inherited an estate that includes the following: a two-bedroom condo on Waikiki Beach, a 2008 Jaguar, a baseball card collection, and $240,000 of cash. The question is, how are you going to fairly divide this between you and your siblings? The first step in dividing an estate is determining the value. And different people may have different ideas on what an item is worth. So to do this, you have to have each person place a bid on what he or she considers that item is worth. Okay, we don't do this for the cash, just for the objects. And the amount the person bids must be what they are actually willing to pay for it. So if they end up having the highest bid, they need to pay that much cash and get the item. Once each person has determined what they think the items are worth, then we determine what's called fair share. So how much should each person get to make it be fair? To find each person's fair share, what we do is we take the total value of the estate, including the cash, and divide it by the number of heirs. So basically, we're going to add up the bids, put the cash in there, and then divide it by the number of people you're splitting it between. The key thing here is that not everyone's fair share will be equal. If you're willing to pay more for an item and you think that item is worth more, your fair share is going to be worth more than a person who doesn't think that the items are worth as much money. So let's go back to the example. So imagine that there are 4 siblings: Charlie, Ellen, Glenn, and Mary. Again, we're dividing a condo, a car, baseball cards, and cash. Notice the cash is the same for everybody. That's $240,000. Obviously, that's what the cash is worth. Then each person went through and determined what they felt the other items were worth. Again, a person who puts the highest bid on an item is going to have to pay that amount. So while a higher bid gives you a higher fair share, if you're the highest amount, you have to pay it. So to find the fair share, we add up each person's bids. And this has actually been done for us. So Charlie thinks the estate is worth $1,495,000. We got this by adding up the $1.2 million for the condo, the $50,000 for the car, the $5,000 for the cards, and the $240,000 in cash. So Charlie's estate is worth $1,495,000. His fair share would be 1/4 of that, since this is being divided by 4 people. So his fair share of $1,495,000 divided by 4 means that he should get $373,750 worth of items in cash. For Ellen, we would take the total bids in cash of $1,108,000. Again, divide it by 4, since there's 4 people. Her fair share is $277,000. For Glenn, $1,310,000 divided by 4. And for Mary. Okay, notice again, everybody's fair share is different. Charlie has the largest fair share, but he also is willing to spend the most money to buy those items. Mary has the smallest fair share, but notice she doesn't think the condo is worth nearly as much money as Charlie does. These fair shares will help us determine what items everybody gets and how much cash people get. After we have the bids, now we're going to figure out who gets each item. So basically, we're going to look at the bids and give the item to the person who paid the most. Okay, they have to pay that amount based on their bids. So we're going to take their winning bids and subtract it from their fair share. If the fair share minus the bids is a positive number, the heir is also going to get some cash. However, if the fair share minus their bids is negative, that person is going to owe money to the state. So for example, if you end up wanting to buy everything, you're going to owe money basically to your siblings. Okay, so first, let's determine who's going to buy each item. So if we look at the condo and we look across at the bids, Charlie has the largest bid for the condo. Charlie is going to buy the condo and he's going to pay $1.2 million for it. Then we scroll across and look at the car. Ellen is willing to pay $60,000. She gets the car. The baseball cards are highly valued by Mary. Mary is going to pay $60,000 for the baseball cards. And the cash, remember, isn't something we're buying. They all put the same bid on the cash. So we're going to figure out how much each person owes. So from Charlie's fair share, he's going to get the condo. The condo, you'll notice, is worth a lot more than his fair share. So what we need to do is figure out what Charlie owes. So we're going to take Charlie's fair share of $373,750 minus the price of the condo, $1,200,000, and that's going to give us negative $826,250. So he owes that much money to the estate. Then we're going to look at Ellen. We said that Ellen's fair share was $277,000. Okay, all she bought was the car. So we're going to take $277,000 minus her $60,000 that she's going to pay for the car, and that's going to leave her with $217,000. And that's cash to Ellen. Her fair share is higher than what she's going to pay for the items. Glenn didn't bid on anything. So Glenn's going to get his whole fair share. So Glenn will get $327,500 from the state. And finally, Mary had a fair share of $247,250. She bought baseball cards worth $60,000. So she is going to get $189,250 from the state. So you'll notice on that last page, some people got cash and some people paid cash to the state. So we need to balance that out. We have to figure out the cash owed and the cash received. And then we're going to take that remaining cash and divide it out evenly by the remaining heirs. So again, initially the estate had $240,000. From the last page, we remember that Charlie had to pay $826,000. So for the condo, we're going to add $826,250. Ellen was going to receive $217,000 as part of her fair share. Glenn received all the money in cash since he didn't bid highest for anything. And Mary was going to receive $189,250. So we take the initial estate plus the cash received minus the cash paid out. And that gives our final balance of the estate. This means that the estate still has cash of $332,500. So each person is going to get 1/4 of that. So $332,500 divided by 4 means each person will get an extra $83,125 in cash. So then we want to write a summary. For our summary, we'd want to list what each person received and then indicate also the cash, how much they either paid or how much they received from the estate.